Hello!
Hello!
And welcome back to Project Mosquito.
In this episode, it's time to take on the doors again.
Our old nemesis. It looks like a car and it feels car-shaped.
It does actually felt like you're in a proper special place.
So thus far, the only thing that has
Eluded us.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it, is the door hinges. And so I came up with a very flawed design. We banged our head against a wall, and then we decided to have a temporary retreat while we gathered our thoughts and did other stuff, and now we're back at it. When we talked about the new shape of the window, I also mentioned that we're no longer having a 90-degree door shut, because it will be the only 90-degree line on the entire car, and it will stick out like a sore thumb. So we're now going to taper our door more into our front clamshell, which means we can bring our hinge more into our front clamshell, sort out all those lines. So that's all fine, but the time to make our doors work is before we do our body. And the doors are butterfly doors. There's a video all about that. I'll leave a link to that video at the end of this one. We did a whole thing where we assessed each type of door design and the good things about each door design, the bad things about each door design, and this is kind of what we settled on. Dad wanted butterfly doors, so butterfly doors you shall get. I love it when it's not my fault.
It is, yes. So the Pickard path of most resistance strikes yet again.
Yeah, the patented Pickard path of most resistance. What we need to do is make a mount where we're going to mount our door, right? And it can be 2 pieces of metal, 2 pieces of steel with 2 holes drilled in, yeah? And then we can use 2 pieces of threaded bar that run through with a nut and bolt top and bottom. And because it's threaded bar, we can then adjust that distance, yeah? And we need to make a door, basically a door geometry jig.
Have we got any threaded bar?
We've got something somewhere, we must do. What's that?
6 mil.
It's a bit thin, that. We've not got some upstairs. So if your pivot's long enough, yeah, obviously your point from here to here is short, yeah? And your distance from here to here is long, yeah? And so I think the McLaren hinge works just in the fact that it gives you that extra distance. Just because it swings from such a long, and that's why the bracket for a McLaren door, for a McLaren 720 doors, comes down here and round. Yeah, it's this really long arm, yeah? Mm-hmm. And that's because it's all about relative distance. The point between there and there being a lot shorter than the point between here and here. And so when it swings up, it swings out and away. Yeah, that's what gives you your distance. Whereas the Maserati works by having the hinge actually forward, the hinge point forward of the bracket. And as it swings forward, it gives you that relative distance of here to there. Yeah?
Yeah, but how do we make that?
Well, that's what the episode's about. We'll have to watch it and find out.
Yeah.
If it were easy, everyone would do it. So my thought is that we have we have our door, right? And if we make 2 threaded rods, like that, with a nut and a bolt on each side, we can shorten and extend those 2, yeah?
Yeah, to give us
a distance, and we can play around with it, yeah? And then we can make a pivot, because we know what angle that pivot needs to run at. The angle of our pivot needs to be the same as our A-pillar,
yeah.
right? But we don't know the distance, and if we need to do an undertuck, where we have our hinge point above, and these come underneath, yeah? Or whether, like the McLaren, sorry, that's like the Maserati, yeah? Or, like the McLaren, you just have a really long arm. That's, you know what I mean? But that's basically what the McLaren gets away with, yeah?
Yeah.
Personally, I think the Maserati method's better if we've got enough height there to achieve what we want to achieve. Luckily, we're not. Our bodywork's going to be voluptuous, but it's not going to be that voluptuous in that area.
That point, yeah. That's kind of fitting the biggest hinge into the smallest bit of car we have.
Yes, but it also means that as far as coming that way out, we don't have a lot of room to do it in, but also we don't have to lift it over a big bit of bodywork there, whereas a lot of cars do. And that's why
And we still need to get the front clamshell open.
Yeah, but that's why that's fine. That's not an issue. I can work that out, that's not a problem. The reason why the McLaren has the big long arm is because it doesn't have a lot of room here. Because as you and I know, it uses this part of the door as part of its intake tract.
Yep.
And so it has those channels in the top. And so here it's very skinny. Yeah? And so what they did is they mounted their pivot at that angle and then just had a really long arm that runs to it. And that's on a flat pivot in it. So yeah, if we figure out our minimum distance, I think that's the best way of doing it. Do you want to use the other door? Because that's already got a plate welded in it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Sure, use it on the other side, yeah.
So we're using this bottom one. What, does it not need to come further out?
We don't know. I don't think so. Right, so if you look at I need a thingy, this'll do. Right, so, if you look at the McLaren hinge, the Maserati hinge. The Maserati hinge is in at the top, out at the bottom, and it's at the same angle as
Yes.
As that, right. So in order to have the best undertuck possible, in order to swing under itself as well as it can, I think it needs to mount as far in as possible. Yeah? Mm-hmm. And then that way, as it swings around that point, it moves out as much as possible. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Whereas if it's already out, it doesn't have anywhere to go, does it?
No.
Thinking about it now, the top of our pivot needs to damn near touch that. Yeah? The bottom of our pivot needs to be 60 mil out.
Yep.
Right? So we actually have the angle and distance of our pivot. What we don't have is our distance from here. Yeah? So we do have a fixed pivot. We've got a fixed pivot angle because it has to be the same angle as this.
Yep.
We know this. We have fixed distances here and here. We know those. What we don't know is how far it needs to be from that. Yeah?
Yep.
And how big our undertuck needs to be. But our undertuck, like we can make an undertuck bracket and then attach that to our undertuck bracket and make it work, yeah?
Yep.
Ah, now then. That might have a dodgy bit of thread on it.
Well, I've got an 8mm die if you want to run a die then.
It's way more than I need, but I might as well sort it out while I'm here.
No, I'm still not with you.
We need to make a pivot.
Yeah, I know, but where are you going to mount it to?
Not going to mount it anyway yet. We need to orientate a pivot as in the angles we know it needs to be orientated in, right? And then we can literally hold it against the car for now, yeah? Till we get our lengths right. Distance here 60. Yeah? So we know our angle and we know our base distance.
Well, why don't we make a bracket that's...
So now what we need to do is we need to make a bracket that's at that angle and our base distance, but what we don't know is how much of an undertuck we need for this to work. Yeah? Does that make sense? So we make that as a separate piece that slides on and then bolts through here. So that bolts there, and then we can adjust this distance. And that tells us where this gets mounted. Because this pivot has to be on the angle that it's on, yeah?
Yeah.
So which makes our undertuck on an angle, yeah? But our door is straight. I think we need a pivot and we need a tube.
Oh, metal.
And then we need to make an angle.
That'll look.
Okay, so it might not look like much, but this is our door hinge salvation, hopefully. So basically, the idea is that it sits, obviously, at the same angle as our A-pillar, and as you open the door, it rotates round, and it currently fits flush up against the steel, right? And then as it rotates round, it lifts up, and so we get a ton of lift. So we get lift and rotation, which is what we were trying to achieve with our original hinges. And I basically did it by coming in, making a flag, and then bending the flag round, and then supporting the flag from underneath so that it would be rigid. And trying to get as much behind here as possible, which gives us as much rotation round as possible while keeping it all strong. Hopefully, that's our key. So now what we need to do is make this in steel that's distance adjustable so we know where to put it. Previously we tried to house it all in here. That's just not going to work. The geometry doesn't make sense. But I'm hoping that with an extension onto here, onto here, it will do. But basically the theory behind it is much like a motorcycle swing arm. Right, so the idea is much like a motorcycle swing arm, or much like the trailing arms on a Mini, right? Which, if I draw the frame of, or rather the rear of a motorcycle frame, like that, and then you've got a pivot in here, and I draw a wheel, right? That's not my best circle ever, but it'll do. And then we have an axle in the middle. Then you obviously have a swing arm that runs from there to there. As this wheel hits a bump, it will trace a line pivoting from there upwards, like this, in an arc, right? Which means as the wheelbase, so you've got a distance from here, which is there, and your axle length is that. So you've got a given length. As this goes up, even though this stays the same length, effectively your wheelbase gets longer. Because it's longer from here to here, and so your wheelbase grows by that much. That's basically what we've tried to achieve, but in a rotation. And that's exactly the same way as the McLaren hinge works as well. Unlike a 720S, it's a long way down and it's a long hinge, and so by the time it swings up, it is longer than it was when it was at rest, which is what pulls your door in. And before we were trying to like lift up and swing round, and we were struggling to do it, and we didn't know how to do it, and I tried to do this like silly screw mechanism thing and all this, but all it is that, but in a spiral. And so it's like an Archimedes spiral, so it's that, but it spins up rather than just being a lever. We'll draw around this first, right? And then you can wrap your steel around that, because this was a hard bit to make. That bit took me forever. This bit was well easy. And it was my triangle that had to be cut away and cut away and cut away and cut away. But that's the important bit. It's the cam on the bottom. And it is just a cam. Yeah, but like I say, it's the cam shape that's the difficult bit. It's the bottom. The strip itself is just a strip. There's nothing special about it. Oops, sorry, it doesn't sit. And I don't know if it's the golden ratio, and I didn't check, and I don't care.
Does that need to be a...
Yes, it's a really funny shape.
Funny shape, right?
Yes.
It needs to be that shape.
Yes, because it has to fit flat against the car, and you want to get as much around the back of it as possible.
And it's that way up, isn't it? That way.
Because the more you have around the back, the more lift you have, yeah?
And roll that round.
Every time I think about cams, I always remember the fact that they were made in what is today like modern day Iraq to make water clocks like thousands of years ago. And I always think to come up with that then.
Yeah.
It's like if you've ever been to Mont Saint-Michel in France, like there's a chest that has like 9 locks on it, and it's opened by a single key, and this one key goes in, rotates, and unlocks 9 locks. And this entire mechanism was made in a blacksmith's forge by a dude who made his own tools to make the things that he was trying to make. He had no electricity. He had to start a fire every morning to be able to melt the metal to make the thing. And I always think like, yeah, I have no excuses. You know what I mean?
Hey, luxury.
Oh no, I can't do this thing. I don't have like an NC machine or, you know, or a CNC or whatever. And I'm like, no, hang on a minute. Some dude in Iraq made a water clock that was accurate to like...
Oh, Ettore Bugatti.
Seconds a day. Yeah, but thousands of years ago.
Yeah. I know, but even Ettore Bugatti, you know,
yeah.
making cars in it, basically, it was stable.
Yeah.
A stable
block. It's a
block.
really nice stable block, but yeah.
Yeah, it's still a stable.
Yeah.
No electricity to start with.
Yeah. Technically, this was once a cowshed.
Yeah.
That we stood in now. Well, actually, the cowshed was
Next door.
My house, which is through that wall. Well, yeah, because what you want is maximum lift. So you want this to be as flat to this as humanly possible. I know this seems a bit preposterous, it might look odd because it's this weird, I don't know, helixy, like seashell shape, right? But we are trying to ape something that is fundamentally a cast piece when it's made on a production line for Maserati or for McLaren. And so it's going to look odd because we're making it out of flat sheet. And it's basically like origami door hinges at this point, but this is just proof of concept. Once we get proof of concept, once we get our angles in and our measurements in, we can then make something that looks us.
Yeah.
And is in keeping and is like all drilled and full of holes and as lightweight and lovely as possible. But no matter what, we'll struggle to make a hinge that is heavier than the factory GTM hinge. But I'll tell you what, it's not preposterous. Our Patreon members, I'd like to say a huge thank you to every single one of our Patreon members for their support. And we really struggle to spend so much time in the workshop every single week making these videos and working on the car without them. So I'd like to say a huge thank you to our slicks and qualifying slicks, and the qualifying slicks get their name on a plaque on the finished Mosquito. So I'd like to say a huge thank you to Neil Fuller, Derek Green and Steve Schriefer.
Yes, thank you guys.
And our slicks, Alex Bottomley, Jamie Dowden, David Flaherty, Old Goat, Robert Millwood, Logan Pillsbury, Rob Podmore, Liam Quinn, Darryl Rowe, Tim Ritchie, Mike Satke, Joe Shripley and Andy Wood. If you're interested in joining our Patreon, then check out patreon.com/oliverpickard.
Yes, thank you guys. We really, really appreciate it.
We do, massively, thank you. We want to get it as high as we can, don't we?
Yep.
So now do we make angle bracket that
I'll make an angle bracket that we can just tack it on, drill it, you know, to these two positions, drill it, put lock nuts on either side, and then we can move it backwards and forwards.
Yep.
And hold it all in position.
In theory, we could actually shorten this massively because there's no lift at the top at all. We can cut it shorter and mount it higher to get more lift.
Yeah. So none of this will be here, will it? Because that'll be
a plate, yeah.
A plate that's flat with this.
Yes.
That patterns on a flange on there.
Well, yeah, it'll be all one piece, won't it? It'll come all the way from the door to the hinge, yeah? But the reason why this needs to exist at the back is so that we can actually cut it out in a recess so that you can wrap it around the body.
Yep.
That's why shortening works. Shortening it works.
That's got it.
that weirdly looks like a thing.
Yeah, it's starting to.
And as you all know, that's my favourite part of making anything. When it starts to, I enjoy that more than when it's finished. When it just starts to look like a thing. When your brain looks at it and goes, that makes sense.
That's better, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's sitting flat.
Yeah.
So now we'll make this piece.
Yeah. From what we've seen, there's a lot of pressure on one of these doors. Like these door hinges are all massively strong, aren't they?
Yep.
Even like as far as door hinges go, which are usually really strong, they're a bit flipping huge and like huge bolts, and so there must be quite a lot of twisting force and quite a lot of cantilever force, because obviously by the time your door's up here, that's a long lever, and that's a lot of weight on a...
Yeah, even if your door doesn't weigh very much.
Yeah.
The wind gets hold of it.
Yeah. Oh, it's trying to adjust your door.
That's it, everything's twisted, isn't it? You think you're trying to work in straight lines, but it's not doing it.
No. Oh, look at that McLaren hinge.
Yeah.
That thing's like...
It's like an elbow.
Yeah. Like H.R. Geiger designed it.
Yeah, with dislocated wrist.
A second-hand one of these door hinges for a Maserati's 400 quid from like a scrapyard, and a McLaren one was 700. Yeah.
Yep, 720 pounds.
Yeah. Can you imagine what Maserati or McLaren charges for a new one? And I tell you what, it's worth every single penny because they put tons of work into it. Because that's what I'd be charging as well if I made them. Flipping out. You may recall me complaining about people drilling stuff like that. Yeah, I don't like it, but some more cup. Do as I say, not as I do. Ideally as well, we'll be able to keep this one in place while we make our other side, yeah?
Yeah.
And then we have a reference. So that's why this side actually needs to not just like be a mathematical model, but actually a functional model. I'd like to get in and shut the door behind me, but the seat's not bolted in. It can be better, it can be flatter to the chassis, because the whole point is that the hinge fits against the chassis.
Yeah.
And there's a few mil, and that few mil doesn't seem like much at the bottom here, but when it gets to the top, it's a lot.
Yeah, so now that's given us a really good starting point now, because we know all our angles, we know we can measure everything off it. We can actually make the other door hinge while keeping this one in place. Then we've always got our reference.
And we have not been defeated.
No.
We did not win the battle, but we have won the war. Yeah, I'm proud of that. I wasn't sure whether it would come together until it did. Even this morning, we walked in the workshop after hours of like mocking it up and turning it and like thinking about it. But it does the thing.
And it does it really well. So yeah, super proud of you, Oliver. You did a good job there yesterday.
That's it. There's a really famous picture of a Stratos, right, with its doors open and its front clamshell forward and the boot open, yeah?
Yep.
And I want to recreate that photo with this, because we've got a really cool front clamshell hinge and stuff that we've made, and the doors are going to go up, and yeah, I can't wait to see it like with Mosquito wings. Yeah. Mosquito wing doors. I'm proper proud of us. And yeah, this week I just wanted to win. Like this weekend, some weeks, motivation's harder to come by than others. And when you can choose your job, sometimes the best thing to do is go for a job that will give you that push and that rush and that motivation and remind you why you do it in the first place. Yeah. Speaking of motivation, another thing that motivates us massively is all the wonderful comments that you leave for us every single week. So even before you've written them, I want to say thank you all for all your comments, and we try to respond to every single one of them.
And if you don't have a comment to leave us, just leave us a Mosquito.
Yeah.
And a thumbs up.
And they're a very good read as well. So yeah, and I'll leave a link to the previous hinge video. If you're wondering why we've gone for this style of hinge, I'll leave a link to that at the end of this video. It's probably on screen now. So I'd like to thank you all for watching. A huge thank you to all of our Patreons, and we'll see you all in the next episode.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.